thing in the corner. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Spread the Positive podcast. I say this a lot of times, but this is by far the most overdue episode of all time. This is one of my best friends, longtime supporter, believer, business partner, all the things. My guy, Mr. William Moore. How are you, man?
Man, I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think I said probably no exaggeration 250 times. Well, just let me know and I'll get on the pod.
Yeah.
So I'm fine. Glad that it's finally
Man, I
happening.
was
Just
just
go ahead and
saving
start
it. I
23.
was saving it. I wanted to make sure we really had our game all the way on point. So we're here at TTM Studios to the Moon. My guy Tom on the production. Shouts to Tom as always. Thank you for the hookup here and getting us right on the mics and on the cameras and all that stuff. So that, I mean, I think it definitely should have happened, and I don't know why, to be honest. But I think we saved it for just the right time, and we're gonna do it upright, man.
Yes,
So, William, I always like to take it back. Young, like what childhood was like, early passions, early memories, and
yeah,
just kind of
definitely.
what shaped the greatness that is William Moore, man. Take us back.
Well, you're far too kind, and I'll go ahead and start doing some tally marks here to make sure I get enough checks in the mail for you for the kind words. But no, I guess that born and raised Columbia, Tennessee. Have a twin sister. Family's still back there, and I still go down and spend a lot of time with my niece and nephew in that community. Grew up on the same street as my grandparents all my life, extremely close to them, and that's
Nice.
kind of where my passion came from for what I do now, which is
Yeah.
banking and helping people in that regard. And that really came from my grandfather. And it's funny, when I was a kid, I used to walk up and down the street with my mower because we lived on the end of the dead end street, and my grandparents lived on the top of it, and would cut each yard for a little bit of spending money whenever I was 13 or so.
Nice.
And this mower was like my grandfather's. I think
Oh man,
it was the original snapper, like Model A. I mean, it was pretty impressive. But
that's awesome.
needless to say, that didn't last a long time. The mower didn't, because it started kind of popping into different neighbors' houses where the grass might be tall, and would say, what can I do? Could I start cutting your yard for the summer or whatnot? And so by into spring, into really the beginning of summer, I had a good little business there just on the street.
Nice.
And I went to my grandfather, and he was in the banking business, and I said, I really need to. Nothing against your antique mower here, but I really need to get something that will act at a little bit, on a more commercial level, and for
Nice.
the number of yards that I'm hoping to do, ultimately, not just this year, but going
And
forward.
this was 13.
Yeah, 13, 14,
Nice,
something
man.
like that. I mean, I probably walked up and down the street for 2.5 years from,
Right. Yeah, so
11,
if
12
yeah,
to
yeah,
13,
sure.
14,
Oh
before it
wow.
really hit
Okay.
me, like, I should probably be more of an entrepreneur and
There
taking
you
on these
go.
yards and stuff. And he was kind enough to make me a 0% interest loan. He brought home the old ledger book that you used to see and you can't find anymore, back before computers and all that kind of stuff.
That's so
And
cool.
at the end of every week, we would settle up, and he would say, this is how much I'd say, this is how much I made this week. And we'd talk about different things like tithing, and as far as, let's pay this loan payment and let's reduce that. And here's what the amortization schedule looks like. And that just kind of interested me as a kid, and always loved math going through school. And so once I got to MTSU here, I thought I knew my path. I diverted a little bit about midway through, thinking I wanted to go into music production and that kind of thing, but
That's cool.
still have that passion there
Yeah.
too. And so that kind of
Hang on, man.
shaped
I don't
where
know.
I
I don't
ended
know
up.
if I knew that.
I don't know if you did either. Man. I
Yeah.
was trying
Talk to me
think
about that. Talk to me. Like, where did that passion come from? I know you're a big music guy. I've always known that,
Yeah.
but just really appreciate great music. But I mean, was there any big catalyst moments that kind of was there a band, or
I don't know that it was one in particular, and I'm trying to think of who. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, you're good. Sorry.
I don't know if it was one, maybe one band in particular, or anything like that. I think it might have been as much of, those times that you hear a song and it takes you to a place.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think I heard something. I think I can't think of the name of it now. Was it Bye Bye Miss American Pie, I think. And my mom used to listen to that when she was driving us to school all the time.
Nice.
And I remember hearing that 10 years later, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just being like, remembering
And takes
I
you
was
right
in
back.
that car
Yep,
ride
yep, yep.
from Columbia to Hampshire, and like, yeah.
Got you.
And so it's just one of those things that certain things affect you. And
No,
that's
I
what
totally
motivates you
get
to
it.
try to go a different direction.
That was cool. That's awesome. So how did you get very far? Or, I mean, what?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did not. In all honesty, it was more thought than anything else.
Okay. Okay.
I went and looked at. I had a friend at that time who lived in Murfreesboro that was at. I think it was called SAE, which was the Sound
Yes.
Audio Engineering School in
Mhm.
Nashville, and went and toured there and did some research around MTSU as far as what it looked like to move into that program. But at the end of the day, I kind of, I stuck to my guns, and I'm glad that I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. So finance and
Yeah, graduated with a degree with a major in finance and a minor in business administration,
that's awesome, man.
and haven't been able to really escape here since
Yeah,
then, which is
I was about to
not
say.
a bad thing. But
Yeah, you came out of MTSU right into the banking world, right?
yeah, I did. It was 2009, and so there was it wasn't a great time to be
Yeah.
coming into the finance
Yeah, right.
world.
Yeah.
But I actually had a friend of the family that was a senior chairman at First Community Bank of Bedford County, and Billy Hicks, God rest his soul, was an incredible man. Treated everybody the same, which is ironically been one of the similar qualities to any of the people that I've worked with and have become mentors
Yeah.
in my life. And that really was, I guess, kind of spawned from my grandfather and how he treated people.
Nice, man.
But yeah, Mr. Hicks, I called him about a month after graduation, and as I did with anybody else I could think of.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, at least you had a finance degree. I was just coming out with like some PRT. Like, I'll do anything, man. No, that's awesome.
Was, but he gave me a chance, and he said, "Why don't you come down and talk to me?" And he introduced me to the CEO and the CEO at the time, and the president at the time, who was Scott Kokenhauer, who is now still to this day is now the CEO of that bank.
Wow.
But, and they said, "Hey, we'll give you an opportunity to come down here. We're going to start you on the teller line so you can learn the community." And it was in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and you get to learn the community and kind of that's the best place that you can see, and you'll get a lot of appreciation for what those frontline folks do. And that was the best thing I could have done.
Nice.
Because that's still probably one of the most, if not the most, underappreciated job in a bank, are those people on the front line, those tellers, those CSRs who are, if they're having a bad day, everybody, that's the impression of the bank itself.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do you keep those people who are dealing with a lot on a daily basis, keeping them happy? And so starting there was great, and then went into some compliance and some what they call BSA, which is the Bank Secrecy Act, and a lot of things that came from, well, the recession and all then, that really started monitoring some different thresholds as far as money comes in and compliance and all, and quickly learned that sitting in front of a spreadsheet all day long was not for me.
Feel you.
But it was good information to learn, and a good place to kind of start moving my way up through the ranks. And I'm glad that I did it, because it helped me know that I didn't want to do it. Right?
Yeah, right.
And
I think we've all had those positions over the years.
Exactly, right. You learn. So I was fortunate, got to from there, they put me into a lending role, and I started on the consumer loan side and went on to kind of work through that. And fast forward, I'm now in a commercial lending role, and working on the business banking team here at First Horizon with my good friend Yolanda Green. And
shouts to Yo.
Another, absolutely.
Legend.
Another great mentor there. And, she's given me a good chance, recruited me over to First Horizon back in November of 2019. So it was a learning experience there. Yeah.
What a time.
Come in and look, here's this job, here's your office, and 3 months later, go home, and we'll see you in a year and a half.
This is wild, man. What a time. It was so crazy.
It was a good way to learn systems, because you really learned them.
Yeah. That takes a whole new level, man.
Yeah, you couldn't walk next door to your neighbor's office and say, "How do you do this?" or "Where do you find this information?"
Man. So I didn't even think about that, especially that new into it. I mean, but that was pretty tough.
It was interesting for sure.
Yeah.
But it's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I guess. And that was definitely that's a first world problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. Well, that's awesome, man. I was pretty familiar with most of that, but learned a few things, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Now commercial lending at First Horizon. You're super active in the community, man. I think that's something we both, kind of linked up and appreciated about one another early on. And um, yeah, I've just always admired how you just kind of carry yourself in the community, man. Like
Well, I appreciate that.
you walk your talk at an alarming level
Well,
in a good way. But talk to us about that, man. Talk to us about why that's so important to you, and just kind of I think that stems from D-Dad, the
yeah.
fam. Obviously, big bills, very community oriented too. So, talk to us about kind of how that that flourished, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're spot on. I
Yeah,
mean, it started with well, let me take a step back. Very blessed to grow up with a wonderful family. My grandfather, as I alluded to a little earlier, had a big impact on what I do and why I do it. My dad is my best friend,
yeah,
and I love him to death. And he didn't go down the banking path. He kind of did some real estate. He kind of did some own or worked in a small
photography.
business, photography
Yeah,
for
dude, that
6 years, I
yeah,
think, and so there's a lot of different things there, but I guess it kind of, as far as the community is concerned, and how you approach that type of deal, definitely learned a lot from both of those guys,
yeah,
because it was, if you're going to commit yourself to something, you commit to it, um, and you get back what you put out. The biggest thing, I guess, that my grandfather taught me was you can't give too much, right?
mm,
And so there's always somebody that needs it, and there's always somebody that needs it more than you. And so what can you do to help is such a big thing. And outside of that, like thinking of mentors afterwards, I mean, Mr. Hicks was very much that way. Whenever I left First Community Bank, I got recruited over to First Bank
mm,
with two great mentors, when Ben Weatherford and Ronnie Martin,
two
who I
legends.
still talk to.
Yeah,
I still very actively talk to both of them
yeah,
today, and
right.
just think the world of both of those guys. And they were both the same way.
Yeah,
And I think that anybody that knows any of those folks would certainly agree. Anybody that knows Joe would certainly
hmm,
agree. And so it's been it's been an example thing. And just I kind of learned at a young age to shut up and listen. Got two
You're
ears and
really
one
good
mouth
at
for a
that,
reason.
man. You really
Well,
are. I
sometimes.
applaud you for that,
Ask
because I
ask my
could.
better half
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah. No, you do that, man. You do that on a yeah, you really do. I've learned that. I've tried to be better at that because of you, man.
well, I
So shouts.
appreciate that. What
Yeah.
I think you do better than you're giving yourself credit for.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. So community outreach. Man, you're NYP, you're on a lot of boards around town, you're doing a lot. Talk to us about it, man. Like what really fires you up these days on
Well,
that side of things?
I've definitely been involved with NYP for a while. I made the joke to, um, I think it was Gracie not too long ago, that I was only doing it now so I could prove that I was still young enough to be in it.
Right.
So this hairline keeps going back. I'm gonna have
Hey.
to figure out something to try to make people think I'm young. But no, it's that was the first group that I really got involved with.
Yeah.
Whenever I did leave Murfreesboro for a short period of time, about a year, whenever I went down to First Community and started working after school per their request. And when I came back and came back into this market and was working over here again, it was that was just that was the first group that I really joined. And I remember trying to reach out and find different, what's a good fit? Where can I get some value? And,
Yeah.
at that time as a young lender, you're thinking, well, where can I get the business?
Yeah. Where's
Right.
the deal at?
And NYP kind of taught me that it's not necessarily about how many business cards you're handing out, it's the relationships that you're making and what can come
1000%.
from those. And so, and I'll never forget, I remember signing up for uh, I think it was, the membership really is still a great value for anybody out there that's looking for it.
Right.
But I was like, well, for this amount of money, I'll just go ahead and sign up. No questions asked.
Right.
Like, I don't even have
Right.
to go to a social, right? And as soon as I signed up, I got two emails almost like that.
Yeah.
And the first one was from, still today, one of my really good friends, Chase Alice. Hey, he
Oh,
said,
Chase, man.
the
legend that is.
yeah, and he was a board member at that time. He said, why don't we go grab coffee? And from there, just wanted to get more and more involved. And
What
it's
year
a
was that?
2011, 6,
Oh, so
15 maybe,
okay.
something like that.
Yeah, that's
Let's
probably.
see.
I
'Cause I
think
got
we
into it
joined
before
pretty.
I was 30, so it might have been 14. I would have to go back and
Yeah,
look. It's
interesting.
been some time.
I was around. I think I was 15 or 16. So
We weren't far
yeah, I don't
away
think
from
we
each
were.
other, I don't
Yeah,
think.
I don't think so either.
But those,
Those are some
that's
good times, man.
yeah,
Those are some good years, man.
they
The,
really
the
were.
Rainmakers and the Chris Days and
Yes,
all those
sir.
folks. Yeah, those were good times, man.
Well, that's another point of it too. Thinking about those, and you see those guys in the community who've been doing it
Oh
there,
man, talk about
coming into that group. It's like, why would I not?
exactly.
What can I do to surround myself with more of these people? And they, fortunately, didn't turn me away.
Right.
Decided that they wanted to spend time and that kind of thing too. But as
Yeah.
far as fast forwarding to today, I mean, I think the things that I'm super passionate about are there's Murfreesboro Rescue Mission.
Yep.
Ed Grimes, my God, I
Yep.
think the world of him, and he's doing some big
Shouts to
things.
Ed.
And yeah.
Amazing guy.
And Center for Excellence is another good organization in town. People don't know a whole lot about, but I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
that I don't think it's fair to harp too much on one or the other,
Right.
just because there's another one starting today, I'm sure, that needs
Right.
just as much help as the
That's
rest of
it.
those guys do. So anytime you can put, what Rotary always said was service above self.
Right.
And so
That's it, man.
kind of
You're a Rotarian out here, or
I am a Rotarian in Smyrna.
okay, that's right.
And
Yeah, you're the same as Jonathan, right?
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
that's right.
And now Jonathan would probably slap my hand a little bit about my attendance as of late, so I need to jump on that a little bit
That's
stronger.
okay.
But it's a talk about great organization
Yeah,
there,
that
not
is-
just locally but globally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty incredible.
It's been cool to. I've visited a few times and want to get involved at a more official capacity someday. So, yeah, it's been cool. It's an amazing.
It really
they do
is.
some amazing work.
Well, it is. When I was in Shelbyville, I was super involved in the club down there. And,
Nice.
And it was I made some really, really good friends out of that club, and still actually share Titan season tickets with one of them now. I mean,
Right.
that I met there. And
Really?
yeah.
Shout Joe out.
Yeah, that's Joseph Forsey. He's
What's up, man?
That's another good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about you just have to put yourself out there.
That's
and
it,
it's that
man.
simple.
That's
that
it.
simple.
And you definitely do that. It's been fun to watch, fun to be a part of it at some capacity here and there. So let's get into some STP stuff, man.
Let's do that.
So speaking of NYP and the Casey Rainey's of the world back then, I remember when I first got to Murfreesboro, STP was full fledged on the back burner. Honestly, took me to some weird places before I got here. So it was kind of a sensitive subject in my immediate circle. And I remember just treading lightly, asking a few folks here and there. I'm like, and Casey was one of those guys. And I was like, Casey, man, what do you think of this? Like, I've been working on this concept for a long time. It's called Spread the Positive. It's all about, just what's going right. Let's talk about what's working and facilitate that stuff. And he's like, that would work, man. Like, this is a great place for that. People rally behind those types of things, blah blah blah. So I was like, all right, cool. So just started kind of testing the waters here and there, man. And remember, we struck up a friendship after I almost hit you with a golf club. That's a legendary story. Oh man, that's so embarrassing. Shouts to Donnie Claxton too, man. Man. Anyway,
Oh.
how it all started, man. Oh man, that's embarrassing. But anyway, just from that day, we just kind of stayed in touch, and I kept, just planting some seeds and talking to some folks about it, and definitely remember some of our early conversations, like man, like, what do you think? Like, is this something? I mean, you're like, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. So I was like, sick. Let's try to turn this into something. And just, I'd like to hear from your perspective, man. Looking back, I know it's kind of just been a weird evolution to a certain degree, but it's been pretty. And you've been there since the rebirth of it here in Murfreesboro. So if you don't mind, talk to me from your perspective of what it's been like, and just some of those early memories of all things STP.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing that I would say, as far as all of that is concerned, is thank you,
Oh, man.
because it's it's been a great ride. It's been a pleasure just to be a part of something that this continues to gain more traction and is changing lives and is doing these big things. And it's kind of, it's morphed from what it originally
Some
was,
t-shirts
right?
and
Yeah,
going to Dalen's office and
to get in file with the state, right?
Yeah.
And I went back today actually, and I tried to pull the email that you sent me, and I found it.
Oh wow.
September 1st, 2017.
Wow.
When you sent me the it was the rough draft of what SDP was supposed to look like. It was, I think it was, I don't know if it was a PowerPoint or if it was a Word doc, but it was kind of page by page type. And just the logo looks a lot the same as it did then. Number one, which is a great logo. But again, thank you. Like just you having the confidence to want to try to do something like that, because that's a brave thing in itself. It's never easy to start a business, but to start a business that you're still trying to figure out exactly what the legs of that business look like, right? How it's going to, how do you turn revenue? What part of this do you want to have type of a nonprofit type feel? Because Spread the Positive has the biggest nonprofit type feel, right? But there's a way to get to helping these people and doing these things that doesn't have to have the NFP tag to it. Now, that's not to say that what the future looks like and all that, but as it sits today, it's turned into a production company. Right. I mean, and like that in itself has just been really, really cool to watch, and like watching you learn. And I mean, now with, with our good buddy, Jonathan Harmon, part of the team, and, a big part of,
very big part. Yep. That's pretty crucial.
And he's just,
he doesn't stop, man. We were just talking about it. I was like, man, he does not stop. So,
and that's you talk about a proponent in the community.
Oh,
and, I mean, I don't hold a candle to Jonathan Harmon. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's been really cool to see and to see you learn. And I mean, I know there's been growing pains with both of us, and us having conversations that are uncomfortable, and that makes you better, though. I mean, that strengthens your friendship. And the only business that I've ever been involved with in the past that I worked with a friend crashed and burned. Like it was there was we went our separate ways, and it wasn't really pretty. And it, fortunately our friendship recovered from that, but I was kind of hesitant on the front
I
end.
remember
I really was, because
that
was relatively fresh in my mind when all that happened. I was within 48 months or so of that happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's 4 years. Okay. Quick math. On that finance tip, guy.
And so, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm so glad that you just let me be a part of it, man. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing, and it's I'm so excited to see where it continues to go and to grow. And some things that we've kind of talked about, and with some other great people in this community that haven't been named, but that will be in the future. Like, I'm really excited to see what it continues to do. And man, I'm proud of you, buddy. Like, you're knocking it out of the park with this thing. And I think that I don't think you give yourself enough credit. And so let me tell you, you're doing a great job. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. And
I appreciate that.
You need to know that.
Yeah, really grateful for all that, man. You been the backbone in a lot of ways, and helped with so many things. And just, I mean, after BNI, that was a pretty common occurrence. Just, hey, you got 10 to 15 to 30 to 45. It's like trying to get the heck out of here.
No. It works out. It works out. Man. Well, it held us accountable too.
Yeah, right? It did. Well, there's some good times, man. And that, I mean, it's really crazy back then just how, man, I mean, the pod wasn't even a thing. I mean, none of this. I mean, the network aspect of it was creeping along, and there's still a lot of stuff that's, those foundation, like those early things are still, part of it. I mean, it's still the meat and potatoes of it hasn't changed that much. Now we just have really cool vehicles of, being able to tell these stories, provide these, opportunities. Folks like Tom that can do way better production than me. So it's just it's crazy. It really is. And you're right. There's a lot of upside, and 2023 I'm pumped for as well. And just want to say thank you to you, man. I know we go back and forth getting a little sentimental on them, but just really grateful for you and your friendship beyond anything, man. We have gotten tight, and you're
absolutely
fan. We say it all the time. So
absolutely
super, super awesome. Speaking of, let's get into a couple of the go-to questions for STP, man. And I'd always love to hear these from our guests. And I know we've had these conversations off mic for years, but just when you level it up, it's good to be able to go back on. So tools in the toolbox on how to maintain a positive mindset when you're down and out, having one of those days. We all have them, obviously. So what are some of those go-to ways for you to kind of switch up the mindset when you need to?
Yeah, I mean, it's never easy,
Mm-mm.
right? And in all candor, I mean, over the last year, it's probably been when I've had realized how difficult it was, and not because things aren't going good; things are going great.
Yeah.
I've got, I've got a great job. I have a beautiful girlfriend who
Yep.
puts up with me. I mean, like my family is incredible. I couldn't like they're, all these things, my
Yeah.
faith, like all this in my backbone. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Um, but there's always things that people go through that they, maybe don't talk about, or and then maybe they should.
Yeah.
I think mental health is
100%.
something in our country that is people shouldn't be scared to talk about more. So I guess the first thing is faith, right?
Yeah.
I believe in the good Lord and His Son, and so I turn there a lot whenever there is things that are bothering me,
Yeah.
and that gives me some peace without a doubt.
If you don't
And
mind, what does that look like? Not to dive too deep, but like, is that, Bible time? Is that just straight prayer? Is that straight meditation? Is that journaling? Like, what is
it's
kind of a combo of all that? Or,
well, and I'm guilty in saying that I really don't read enough of the Bible,
no, sure,
probably,
sure.
but I think my biggest thing is to like, prayer is one, and then also to go put yourself in a place that you're surrounded around by, what the Creator did, and to find some
Yes.
appreciation and to realize that, okay, well, this thing that I'm dealing with right now in the grand scheme, how big is that,
Yeah.
right?
Time. Yeah.
And and if you sit down and stop and kind of put this away and everything like
Yep.
that for a minute, and
Hmm.
just kind of look at what's going on in the world, you realize that what you have going is not that big of a deal. You should be able to
100%.
get past this. And that,
Relatively speaking.
yeah,
Let's all, yeah,
relatively
a
speaking,
little
right?
caveat. Yeah. But you're right. Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing, like kind of finding yourself in awe of how big the world is and how beautiful it is. And let's focus on some of that beauty. And
That's right,
that,
man.
that really goes to this, to another point is just like, what do you always say? Focus on what's going right. What's
Hmm.
what's the tagline?
Bringing light to what's going right.
That's it. There
Yeah,
we
man.
go.
Let's
That's what I'm
showcase and
saying.
facilitate those things. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
where your mind state is in what you're focusing, what you're spending your attention on. Like, I
Yep.
mean, where are you living? And I think part of the reason that I said, over the last year or so has been one of those years is maybe I was spending too much time there, or, not taking the time out that I needed to from work activities, or from relationship activities, or
Sure.
whatever I needed to do for yourself, because you have to look out for you just as much. If you're not happy, you can't make
Gotta
others happy,
fill
right?
your cup first, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And another huge one is just is family.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned a little earlier, I've got a nephew that he just turned 6, actually.
Nice.
He
Happy
just
birthday.
turned 6 in December,
Okay.
and my niece Emma will be 4 this month.
Nice.
And so
Shouts to them. Happy
yeah,
birthday.
yeah. So he's in kindergarten, she's in preschool, but he's playing basketball now and
Yes.
super
Let's
involved
go.
in sports and this different stuff. And so like that right there, man, you just go and spend an afternoon with those
That's it,
kids,
right?
and it's a whole different
Like,
world, right?
yeah.
Who cares,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But I'm really say blessed as far as family is concerned, and like my dad, my mom just got remarried,
Yep.
and her husband Bob is a great guy that's fit right in with the family, and
Nice.
so
I think
uh,
that's so cool how
it's
everybody's
it's everybody kind of like that's a little weird because we're all at family functions together, but
it just works though. I
yeah,
mean, I think that's what's
it's
going right.
right. It's not about what maybe didn't work like it should have in the past, but coming together to make sure that we're there for these future
Yes,
generations
man.
and to take care of these kids and know that they're loved above all, and that
That's
kind of
so
thing,
good,
man.
dude. I
That
love that.
that kind of stuff is just I'm smiling talking about it. You know what I'm
Right?
saying? Like,
It's hard to stay mad when you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
reminded with how many blessings, man.
So just taking the time to maybe appreciate those more than to dwell on the things that aren't going your way at the
There you
moment.
go.
And I'm sitting here saying all this, and believe me, I fall short all the
Oh,
time. Ever.
I'm really good at it
There's no,
myself. Yeah.
there's no
I'm
doubt
very
about
good at getting caught up
that.
in stuff that should not matter, but oh boy, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, man, yeah, that's some good stuff, dude. That's some really good stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the tagline, man. You just mentioned a lot of things that are going right in your personal world. What else is going right, man? I know, and you're a news guy, which blows my mind. The amount of times I walked into your house with the news on blows my mind.
You just walked in when the nightly news with Lester Holt is on.
Yeah. I'm like, man, how do you watch all this? And,
Well,
but anyway,
what you
let's
don't
talk.
know is I only watch 30 minutes at a time.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm trying to read it from some other credible
Okay.
source.
Okay. I didn't mean to put you on blast, but
No. You're not hurting my feelings.
that's really funny. But yeah, what else? I mean, we've talked about a lot of things that are going right already, but
Yeah.
if you got a couple of like things we haven't hit on just yet, what's going right according to old William Moore, man?
I think this.
Yeah.
I think that this is the kind of thing that's going right. I mean, right before this, you were doing a table talk with our buddy Jonathan.
Yep.
I mean, y'all aren't talking about negative things on those. You're talking about how we can, grow together and as a community, which would lead me to my next thing is our community. We've got
awesome,
such a good community.
It really is.
Like whenever I was in school, I remember at MTSU thinking, oh, I can't wait to get out of here.
Really?
I can't wait to get out of here. Right.
Yeah.
And now, I wouldn't
Isn't
ever
that something,
leave,
man?
right?
Yeah, dude. That was what I thought. When I first moved to Murfreesboro, I was like, at least it's close to Nashville.
Right.
I did that before when I first graduated. We all came here together. And not, Nashville's Nashville. Like
Right.
you can find your place there probably. But once I got out here, I had zero, like,
yeah,
that idea of trying to get to Nashville disappeared really quick.
It did.
It's crazy.
It kind of faded as the older I got to, like, focusing on what's most important and like being involved. Not to say that you can't do that anywhere, right? But you've started laying the roots down here, and you started building these friend groups that we were talking about earlier. We mentioned all these names, right? And they all have the same focus, which is a group of like-minded people is not an easy thing to find, much less when you're all trying to do things that are like impacting and growing, building your community. And so it's I think we're blessed to live in this community. That's the big one. And then the other is what we've already talked about too, is working on in this community. There's a lot of great nonprofit organizations who are doing gigantic things and helping people. And so, that's another thing you can take a step back and just look and see. Like these are the things that let's spend our focus, let's spend our energy here.
That's it, man. I love that. Man, this is awesome. We're kind of just breezing right through it, man. We're efficient with the time, but covering all the topics and stuff. But let's go ahead and actually, I got this one for you. I didn't put this on our overview. But when you think of the phrase "spread the positive," who lives that out in your life? Who's one of the first people when you think outside of the person that kind of started it and is directly involved? But if who really lives out the mission to spread the positive in your world?
The first person that I thought of was my sister, the
Nice
twin sister, and she is just talk about a big heart. Sometimes too big, right?
Yeah.
can get people in trouble. Sister Jennifer Webb, she's just she's light, man.
Yeah.
And she is one that is she's Christ-centered. She's what's above all is to her is her family, and she's always taking care of them and looking out for them. And so just the way that she approaches things is very much that way. When I think of locally, we talk about the nonprofits and the Ed Grimes and the Cameron Jacksons of Rutherford County, and the good folks, Megan Flippin and those guys and gals over there at United Way. And I mean, you can find it in every single place you look here. We can walk out the door and I can point, down here to people at Brass Horn. Yeah,
Brass Horn, Borough Cairo,
exactly.
Dr. Noah.
And we walk up the street and there's it's just everywhere. Like it's just finding it and understanding it. I guess the biggest thing is recognizing it, not running from it.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, the last question we always ask, man, grateful for 4 things you're most grateful for right now. What you got?
Yeah, well, I guess I can go back to where I've stayed focused, but faith, family, community, and spread the positive.
Hey, man, we made a top 4. That's big. Well, that's awesome, man. yes, this has been super duper overdue. We're gonna have to make this a much more regular thing. And
Yeah, maybe you'll let me tell the story one day of how we became best friends.
dude, yeah, we definitely do that.
Oh, on old Fort Golf Course.
Man, just right off the roof there. I don't even know how that's possible.
Oh, well,
And the fact that I didn't even recognize it, that's the worst part. That's the most embarrassing part for me. But yeah, I'll never live that one down. But it's classic for sure. And we
it was
just got
great.
a little note here saying that our good friend Scott Kimberly says that he's grateful, thankful for William's friendship.
Hey, well, let's go
Same,
ahead and
man.
give
Yes,
the Kimberly
shout
Family
Scott,
Foundation
shout
a
out
big
Scott
shout out.
Kimberly, man.
They had a wonderful event on New Year's Eve. Raised a
Yes.
lot of money for a couple of great nonprofit organizations here in town. You talk about one of those people that's what's
Lit-
going right in
Yeah,
this town. Scott and Denise Kimberly are going right in
that's
this
right,
town.
man. He's a legend. Shouts to
Exactly
Scott,
right.
man. Always grateful for his support and friendship for sure. But
Absolutely.
but yeah, man, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Will. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for believing in the mission, and just appreciate you, man. Love you.
Hey, thank you, TD. Love you too, buddy. Thanks
Alrighty.
for having me.
Peace.